Today we celebrate the Sunday called Laetare Sunday. That's a Latin word, and ever since we've started having our Sunday services in English 50 years ago, we perhaps lost the understanding of what this Sunday is. Laetare means rejoice in Latin. It's a command. Rejoice. We have to rejoice today. And sometimes the vestments that the clergyman would wear today would change from the violet, the penitential color of violet that we wear in Lent, to the color rose, a happy, joyous color. When I was a little boy in school, I used to think that Laetare Sunday was a time to get really excited because Lent was half over. But that's not what it's all about. If they say if you really want to understand what Christians believe, then listen to what they say when they pray together. When we come together for Sunday worship, for instance. That really tells you what we believe and what our life is like. So what does the scripture and the prayers of today tell us? Well, first of all, it tells us that if we think what Lent is all about is about what we do, doing penance, doing some fasting, almsgiving, good works, which all are things we should be doing during Lent. If we think that's what Lent is about, then we just haven't gotten the message. And I think the message is contained in all the scripture readings today, especially in St. Paul, when he tells the Corinthians that God has reconciled us to himself, has brought us back to him. He has done it. It's not something we have done. In fact, he said, he reconciled us to himself by Christ becoming sin. Imagine that. God himself, who came among us as a human, became sin for our sake. And of course, the gospel about the prodigal son, sums it all up. It tells us, and I think this is the real interpretation of that parable, that the prodigal son who finally comes back to his father after a very sinful life is really a figure of Jesus, the Christ, who comes back to his father carrying the sins of the world. He became one of us, he became like us in all things but sin, but took upon himself the results of sin and carried that back to the Father. And how did his Father receive this sinful human being coming back to him? He threw his arms open, ran down the street, and embraced him. That, I think, is what we're celebrating today. It's almost like we're anticipating the message of Easter in 3 weeks. We just can't wait to celebrate and be joyous about the fact that God has loved us so much that he overlooks our sin and pulls us to his breast in love. But Lent is a time that we must remind ourselves that love like that, offered by God, has to be accepted by us and replicated by us in the way we treat each other, in the way we forgive each other and reconcile with each other, whether it's in the family or the workplace or wherever we are with other human beings. So this is Laetare Sunday, the Sunday to rejoice, like the Father welcoming Jesus back and us with him. Like the Father in the parable, God is interested in our return, and God really wants to party.